Hey, this is Adrian Gomez with 212 Athlete. Thanks for sending this in, and I apologize for not getting it back to you sooner. So the back leg is down to 133 degrees, and what we need it to get to is below 110. And let's see here, right around there. So I'd like to get the lower the better. Obviously, his back hip's got to drop to down to this line or below. He's just, and you can see him from this angle right here, he's almost straight up and down, and that's why he's having a hard time driving off of that back leg, and he could throw that much harder. So power to the back leg is something he needs to work on. Going over to his leg extension at plant foot, we're going to measure this back leg. It's at 111 degrees. I'd like it to be it's actually where he needs to be, above 110, but he could push for a longer period of time. It could be even further, and basically that front foot should go as far as he is tall. So right now I don't think he's getting to that point, so he could get that much better. But that has, part of the problem with the power to the back leg. That's an issue, which leads us into the front leg, which is the internal rotation and the angle at plant foot, which right now it's 124. It's a little low. Comes up a little bit right before he throws. So let's see here, 132. But what we basically want to have happen is his front knee to close to lock out, and that allows his back leg to come through. What he's doing a great job of is his back leg is staying straight, and that's fabulous. Now with his so let's look at the inside of his where his knee is when he lands. So as he lands, his knees over, let's see here, clear. Knees over his ankle. He doesn't really move much, so that's not an issue. So he doesn't have an internally rotated front knee, but he could be driving that much further. He's not driving for very long before he puts his front foot down, and that's going to be a problem with velocity. So part of the issue is the back leg. He could drive a lot further. His front knee isn't an issue right now, but it could if he starts driving harder off of that back leg. So let's get into posture, ball release. So ball release posture is, let's see here, this would be an A posture. He's at a B posture, and this would be a C posture. What that means is that when he starts from here in this position, he's having to transfer this all the way to there when he releases the ball. So it's a 43-degree posture change, and what that means is he's having to move his upper body in a different axis to be able to rotate around. When you move axis, you also disrupt rotation, which can contribute to bad command. It can also contribute to loss in velocity. So what I'd like him to do for a fix is lock in that posture to have his upper body stay back a little bit further towards that line, and then be able to drive into that more over his front leg and drive into that head position earlier. If he can do that, he's going to speed up that rotation. So now let's look into release point. Going back to here, his release point is right here, which is actually pretty good. Release point's past his front foot, which is what we want. If his front knee can come back in this position, that's going to be able to drive better. His back leg's going to stay straighter, because he's going to be able to be pushing longer and further. So we want him to get even further than he is right there. So that's great. Good release point now. So let's look into stacking. And this is, so what he's doing is all of his energy is going that way. Then he comes back into this position, and then he's here, and then he's there. So you go forward, back, forward. There's a lot of change in posture there. What I'd like him to do is squat more out of the back leg, so that back knee's got to squat, and his upper body has got to stay, basically his head's over that rubber. And if you can do that, he's going to be able to throw with more of his legs, to be able to push for a longer period of time, and to be able to throw with his body. So stacking needs to improve both upper and lower body, squatting and then stacking back. That's a portion of our online training that you'll see. All right, stacking. His hands separate really early before he's even remotely close to planting. His arm comes up a little bit early before planting, and I'd like him to be able to drive with his lower half a lot further to keep that ball and glove for just a half a second more. So let's look at front glove. His front glove comes down, and it looks like you're lunging with your chest, and that knee's absorbing a lot of the energy, which is part of our problem. We need to get that front knee back, so you have a front knee issue. His front glove drops straight down, and you can see it. I can rotate into this. You can see how it's not really active in the rotation process. He's got to be able to get here and support that scap to be able to really drive and rotate into that. So, you can see that arm has to compensate for it as well, because he's leaning forward and not pinching his shoulder blade into the rotation process. So he could be so much better at rotating if that front glove got there. And when he does that, man, he's going to get so much better, should have improvement in his velocity very rapidly. All right, moving back into chest extension. And he actually has a great chest extension. About 45 degrees. I want it to be upper 40s. He's right there. He's doing a great job. So, great job on that. So, nice, good chest extension. Let's move over to this other one. This is the last one we're going to look at. Acromial line. He doesn't have an acromial line issue, but what we're going to look at is, let's take it back a little bit. I'm going to measure both of his shoulder blades from side to side. And we should line up with the elbow. It's a little bit high, but only by 3 degrees or 5 degrees. It's not bad. It should be 180. He's elevated a little bit. Elbow's a little bit high on the back end where he's pinching. I think because he separates his arm so much and his arm comes up so early, I think that's why he has a high elbow. So he does have a high elbow. It's not crazy drastic, but it definitely is a high elbow. So next one is an arm fly out. Let's look at where his arm is. His arm lays back and it comes out about 53. So he does have an arm fly out, and what we want to try to do is just reduce it to about 45. We're talking about maybe an inch or two. It's not much, but if he can do that, the likelihood of him, the theory behind it is that his hand's going to come through faster. So if he stayed on my line at 45, he'd be able to drive that chest through, or drive that wrist through a lot faster, speeding up the rotation of his arm. So forearm, just as a recap, forearm fly out. Let's see here. Back leg squat, double leg extension with his hips. It needs to be further. Front knee dips too much. We need to make sure that his front knee retracts. That is too low. It needs to be a little bit higher. Stacking was an issue. Front glove was an issue. Elbow was a high elbow. And we have forearm fly out. So all in all, those are things, if you can work on those few things, all of the drills you'll find online. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact us.